So, Beau, the first thing I want to get into is there was an article put out by Mike Jones in The Athletic, and he gave one player on each of the 32 teams that he thinks we need to watch out for. For the Atlanta Falcons, that player was Kyle Pitts. So he basically was saying, I'm paraphrasing here, after a really good rookie season, he said that there was some regression. It's the term he used, regression, in Kyle Pitts' game last year. And I just want to say I don't agree with that at all. And, I think what regressed for Kyle Pitts is the fact that he no longer had Matt Ryan throwing to him. And, we appreciate Marcus. I don't want to pile on Marcus. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just straight up being savage toward Marcus or coming after him. But let's be honest. Marcus Mariota is no Matt Ryan. The quarterback play regressed, in my opinion. The player in Kyle Pitts did not regress. So I don't think that was a fair assessment at all. I want to know what your take on what Mike Jones had to say about Kyle Pitts there.
Well, first and foremost, that's a ridiculous word that people use. Just because you have down years don't mean you regress. It's a media word. It's a word that's kind of almost made up to fit to football. It's a real word, but what I'm saying by the made up part is it's a term that people are they're fitting into football based on real world views. It's not that he regressed. It's that he was asked to do different things. He was asked to block more. The offense was completely different in 2022 than it was 2021. 21 was a more pass happy offense where he was used everywhere and he was used everywhere in some ways this year, but he had a lot more opportunities. And it was a more pass happy offense. This offense last year was run first. And yeah, a lot of it had to do with Marcus Mariota, a whole lot. And there's no doubt that he had a lesser pocket passer throwing the ball to him. But the offense was not built around throwing the football. The offense was built around running the ball 30 times a game, shortening games, trying to play, bend not break defense and win football games. So regress is a ridiculous term. It's based off of a guy who didn't watch very many games, and then he writes an article based on numbers in 10 games. Yeah, he only had 28 catches, but the targets, that were there were fine, but there was a lot of issues with accuracy last year, and you can go through the tape and you can probably find at least 10 to 12 times where he was completely overthrown when he was open, maybe more. So I just cannot stand the verbiage there. I think it's an easy, low-hanging fruit thing. Mike Jones, I'm not going to just destroy him because Mike had an article to write where he had to write an article and with a player from every team as a player to watch. I mean, Michael Thomas was the Saints guy. That was the player for the Saints to watch. His thing for Michael Thomas was, he could be dealt, but they held on to the guy, and they're hoping he can get healthy to form a dynamic duo they desperately need. But no, they don't know what his timeline is going to be. Well, that doesn't sound like a bunch of anything. I could have said that. I could have written that. That sounds like a guy who did minimal research and went and read an off-season article that someone else wrote about the Saints. So I think it's a little bit ridiculous when we throw out words like regress when we didn't watch the damn player play at all. And that's what bothered me about all of that. I'm not going to say him be a Kyle Pitts defender. The guy was also injured with a significant knee injury. So why don't you just say, look, Kyle Pitts is the number one number one draft pick for this team, 4th overall. He coming off a year where he was injured and his production wasn't what he expected or what he wanted it to be. And for this offense to be clicking on all cylinders, they need a guy like Kyle Pitts, who's probably, could be their biggest weapon. Bijan Robinson might fit into that now. And then go with that. But to use the word regress is asinine and it's ignorance at its finest, and it's written by someone who clearly didn't watch the team play very much last year. So I didn't like the terminology. That being said, I think Kyle Pitts I do like the fact that he put Kyle on there because I do think he's a player to watch. I think he's a player that can benefit from some of the other weapons like Jonnu Smith, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Cordero Patterson. And by the way, Desmond Ridder. And
Yeah.
even a guy like Matthew Bergeron, where the pass protection can open up and you can give him times. I think they'll have to pay less attention to Kyle Pitts next year based on the weapons. I'd have been fine with some of those things being said. The use the word regression irritated me, and so I don't like that verbiage. But I do think I do think he is a player to watch, and I think if Kyle Pitts has a big year, the offense has a big year as well.
Just to give the quick blurb, and then I'll give you my take as well. He says, quote, "It's still too early to know whether 2022 third rounder Desmond Ridder is a capable NFL passer, but the Falcons are giving him the first crack at the job. Meanwhile, they desperately need Pitts, the number 4 pick in 2021, to step up after a season of regression. 28 catches for 365 yards and 10 appearances, followed a 1,000-yard rookie campaign," end quote. So again, it's like you said, obviously you didn't watch much of the games last year because you would have known. There's literally, Beau, I kid you not, I saw a highlight. I guess you don't really call it a highlight reel. It was a low light reel. And again, I'm not trying to attack a term you used, long-hanging fruit and being Marcus Mariota. I am just being honest and stating facts. Marcus Mariota missed Kyle Pitts on multiple occasions last season. There's literally video out there of again, low light reel of all the times Kyle Pitts was missed by Marcus Mariota, and Kyle Pitts was very much wide open on a lot of those highlights or lowlights, if you'll call them. So he's going to benefit, like you said, from Desmond Ridder. He is also going to benefit, like you said, of having the attention on Drake London, Jonnu Smith, Cordell Patterson, Matt Collins, Scotty Miller, all the weapons that now the opposing defense is going to have to focus on. Not all the eyes are going to be on Kyle Pitts like they were a year ago or even 2 years ago when Matt Ryan was back at the helm. So all those things have to be taken into consideration. And now, does Kyle Pitts need to up his stats with all this being said? Yes, he does. So again, he's not wrong for putting him on the list. I would like to see Kyle Pitts back in that maybe close to 1,000 yards. I don't know if he has to be quite at 1,000 yards because of all the weapons that they have now. I think there's going to be some even distribution, but he does have to be back up close to that 1,000-yard mark. I would like to see him in the 8 to 10 touchdown range. But again,
hold on. Stop right there.
I'll stop. Go ahead.
That is a key point right there. Mm-hmm. Throw the yardage out. I don't need Kyle Pitts to go for 1,200 yards. I know that a lot of people think that they need that because of where he was drafted, and they want to justify it. But I think that, and by the way, he was catching more. I think he had 3 or 4 touchdowns last year when he got hurt. And I think that is a big point right there. The production in the red zone, to me, could prove very, very well. I think that's where he's going to benefit from Drake London, Matt Collins, Bijan, and Jonnu Smith, along with Cordero. I think that red zone production is going to be huge. And if he has that 6 to 10 touchdown range with 75 catches for, say, 900 yards, and this team is 10-7, no one gives a crap about anything else. They're going to be happy because that is production. He's going to use and then you get in the playoffs, and a guy like Kyle Pitts can change a game.
For sure.
I think that red zone production. And James hit me up. James, our producer, who does a phenomenal job. And we got to work James into this program at some point here in the near future so you guys can get to know him. He had 2 touchdowns last year. I could have swore it was 3 or 4. I think I'm thinking of Drake. The thing about it is that his presence was felt, and it helped Drake London last year. It's going to continue to be felt. That's where I need Kyle Pitts, though, is the production in the red zone. I don't care if he has 1,200 yards. I need that production. And I think you touched on it. That's why I wanted to stop you, because I thought that was a really, really good point, that the touchdown and the red zone production is where Kyle Pitts could really make a difference for this team. And that is something that I'm looking for.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, nobody is going to necessarily remember, how many yards did Kyle Pitts have that game? He had 125. No, nobody's going to remember that. People are going to, it's not to say that it doesn't necessarily matter. It matters. You like to move the ball. And if he's helping move the ball, then that's a big deal. I don't want to minimize that. But people are going to remember, Kyle Pitts scored 2 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts scored 3 touchdowns in this game. Now, that's a big deal. Kyle Pitts putting points on the board is the reason he was drafted with the number 4 overall pick in 2021. So that right there is the main thing. So if he's doing that, then again, like you said, I think the yardage will take care of itself and it'll be its own thing. But he was brought in to be that big unicorn-like red zone target who could be a mismatch no matter who was put on him and to score touchdowns. And if he's doing that, then I think he's getting the job done. And, he's fulfilling what he was drafted for. So there you go. And we just get it from James here. Pitts had 68 red zone targets in 2021, just 28 last season. So that number has to go up. And I think part of that number is too because of the way the offense kind of changed and shifted a little bit under Marcus Mariota versus Matt Ryan. Under Matt Ryan, we know this was more of a pass-oriented offense, and last year under Marcus Mariota, definitely more of a run-heavy offense. So they were running the ball a couple of more times in the red zone than they would pass the ball like they were in 2021.
Well, it's also the fact that you had Drake London mixed in there.
It's true.
I agree with you. Actually, I think it's that you ran the ball so much, but the offense changed.
Yeah,
and I've tried to tell people that the offense changed so much from 21 to 22. They were like night and day, and people have gotten lost in all of that. And that's what bugs me the most. Is I think that where people are going to be surprised is this offense to me. I personally think, based on what I've seen and what they've done addition-wise, I don't think this will look anything like the 22 offense. And I don't think it'll look like the 21 offense either. I think you're going to find a mixture. They believe in Desmond Ridder as a pocket passer. He's a more accurate passer than Marcus Mariota. So I just think that they're going to find ways to mix those two offenses and get the best of both worlds. That's why I think all this that when people say, well, Bijan Robinson, I mean, we already got a running back we can carry 25 times or it just means they're going to run the ball more. I just think there's a lot of obtuseness out there. This is the problem that I have. And James is probably rolling his eyes right now. He's like, he's just hammering home this point about this national narrative. It's not the national. There's some great media that cover these teams nationally. Problem is when you cover teams nationally, you don't always get to lock in on these teams, and you only see them a couple of times a year. You don't know tendencies. You don't know why things work because you don't cover some of these storylines. I just think that people are getting locked in that this is going to be this run team again. I think there'll be more of a mix. I really do. And by the way, some of that does depend on what Desmond Ridder brings too. So there'll be some of that as well.
And I'm glad